What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Culture 316. I am one of your hosts, Jordan Nahisi.
And Edge's Throat Goat Mo. What is up, people?
So, first and foremost, thank you guys so much for tuning into episode 11. This is Culture Goes Extreme, and it's going to be extreme in more ways than one. But before we get into this episode, definitely want to encourage everyone to like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or whatever platform you're listening to, please rate us a 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and share the channel. Once again, we cannot do this show without you guys. We've been growing and it's all because of you guys. So we just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Another thing that we wanted to kind of touch on briefly before we got into the show, rest in peace to Antonio Inoki, a pioneer of Japanese professional wrestling. Without him, there was no New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he has done so many iconic things throughout the years for the pro wrestling world. And we just wanted to send uh, our well wishes, our love, prayers, and condolences to his family, as well as to the Japanese wrestling world for losing an icon such as this. But we're not going to waste any more time, and we're going to get into our first topic, which has been uh, the I guess the hottest topic of the week: Sammy Guevara versus Andrade. So I'm going to give you guys a little story, a little breakdown. So this past week, Sammy Guevara and Andrade engaged in a war of words online. It started that Andrade was in an interview and he kind of talked about a backstage confrontation that he had with Sammy Guevara. After a match they had, Sammy Guevara complained to him saying that he hit him too hard. Andrade's response was that we're wrestlers, and if I'm hitting you hard, you hit me hard back. Like, Sheamus is a hard hitter. John Cena didn't even complain when I was in the ring with him. So if you believe that I hit too hard, then just hit me hard back. And that was kind of the extent of what he said in the interview. Sammy Guevara responded with this tweet: "You are a jobber, a favor hire. Be grateful, bitch." And then Andrade said the following: "I said it to your face. If you had a problem with me and you said nothing, I won't beat your ass." This is the tweet that they're saying: "Because I'm a professional. Don't be scared. When I say something, I name names and I'm not scared to get fired. Hashtag Sammy." After this tweet was put out, Sammy responded with a slew of tweets, one of them telling Andrade to F off and go to WWE already. In response to that, TMZ Sports reported that last night at the Wednesday Dynamite tapings in Washington, D.C., Sammy and Andrade had a backstage altercation where Sammy pushed Andrade and threw several punches, with Andrade responding with a push of his own and some punches. It was reported, or it is alleged, that that Sammy threw the first punch. However, Andrade was sent home, and Sammy obviously was the main event. And Sammy even actually picked up the win with Jericho as they were facing um, Daniel Bryan and Daniel Garcia, Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia. So I asked Mo before, or Mo asked me before I could go off on this first. So before I alley oop this to her, I would like to go off.
This is gonna be
There
good.
was something on Instagram that said, and I agree, you have a 3 conflict limit. You have a 3 beef limit until I think that you are the problem. And that's kind of where Sammy Guevara is right now. Sammy Guevara in the past 90 days has had more physical backstage altercations than CM Punk did in the past 10 years, than the Young Bucks did in the past 20 years. And if CM Punk and the Young Bucks are under some form of investigation and are indefinitely suspended from AEW, I think that Sammy Guevara needs to be fired. Sammy Guevara has been a problem since day one. Not even day one. The moment that he started to believe that he was more important than he thought he was, he started causing conflicts. Obviously, the old tweet of him joking about the R word, he was one of the people that fractured the relationship between AEW and Impact Wrestling because he was too good for the X Division Championship. He also has incited Eddie Kingston to have a backstage altercation with him, and now we have this backstage altercation with Andrade. The reason why I have an issue with this is because I feel like Sammy Guevara only rears his face or his behind when there are conflicts where there is a lot to be left to the imagination, where we don't have all the information, where he can kind of hide in a way. And he likes to do this thing where he kind of throws stones and then hides his hand. He even put out a tweet that said that wrestling is so much drama. And it's like, bro, you are the drama. Like, you're the drama. You're the one that's causing all this conflict. And I just think that at this point, not only are we dealing with a problematic talent, we're dealing with an abusive person. Point blank, period. Now, Ty Conti wanted to laugh. I'm like, sis, it's funny that you're laughing at the wrestling world the way that we were laughing at your first marriage. But I think that it's very, very important to note that if you are dealing with an abusive person, then you're next, sis. Oh, you didn't know? Abusive people show behaviors in all aspects of their life. And you're in the little honeymoon phase now because y'all just got married. Y'all make out on TV every week. And you went from being possibly the next TBS champion to being satisfied with being Sammy Guevara's version of Shakira. But lo and behold, you are putting yourself in a position where you're possibly going to be in your second failed marriage because you're dealing with someone who you're dealing with someone who's abusive. And I think that that's laughable of you. You think that you're safe and you want to laugh at everybody else. And that's okay. That's okay. Now back to Sammy Guevara. Back to Sammy Guevara, bro. You're the problem. And I'm tired of this whole narrative that, oh, Sammy Guevara's a kid. Sammy, you're a grown man. You're 29 years old. You're older than me. And it's time for you to stop putting yourself in a position where you're inciting people and then want to act like you're for everybody. Because I don't know if you notice, but the things that you tweet and the things that you like are two totally different things. You want to stir up the nonsense. You want to stir up the drama. Your likes are public, bro. We see when people are talking bad about Eddie Kingston and people are talking bad about Andrade, and you want to like the tweet, but when you tweet out, oh, we're all about positivity and inclusion and we're drama free. Nah, dog. Like, and to be honest, to be honest and to be very, very fair, like, this is just like only ruining your reputation. Like, you think WWE is gonna want to pick you up, bro? You did a Spanish Fly yesterday, and nobody even batted an eye. You don't move people anymore, bro. You got 3 TNT championship reigns. Cody damn near handed you the torch, and you did nothing with it. It took you 3 championship reigns, all of which were forgettable. You have to stand next to Jericho twice. Nobody cares about that. You have caused more problems than you have caused. You are the source of more problems than the source of more memorable moments in this company. And you wondering why people don't like you, and you think that it's just because people don't like you because you're athletic and that you're gifted and that you look good. No, people don't like you because you're a coward in real life. You're a real life coward. So I personally believe that Andrade is going to go to WWE. Good for him. He deserves to be treated better. He used to be. And one more thing.
Oh, yeah,
How are you
yeah,
going to
yeah,
sit up here
yeah.
and talk about? How are you going to sit up here and talk about somebody being a favor hire when one of your two most memorable moments in this company was giving your best friend a contract who's done nothing but been a mainstay on Dark? Fuego del Sol? What has he done? Wasn't he a favor hire? Didn't you put him on? But you want to say that Andrade is the favor hire? He's done more in this industry than you. Before he married Charlotte, he was an NXT champion. Before he married Charlotte, he had memorable matches before he was engaged to Charlotte. So I have a very, very hard time trying to figure out where this favor hire thing comes from because he's been better than you and he's
Period.
done more than you. He's done
Period.
more. Before he even got to WWE, he was one of the first IWGP Intercontinental Champions of all time. He was one of the first, I think, CMLL or AAA champions. He was
Mm-hmm.
one of the most prestigious in that. He was a part of
Mm-hmm.
Los Ingobernables. That was a memorable faction. He's done more than you. You're the favor hire. You were a baby when you came into this company, and you got off of Cody's back. And had Cody known what you was about to do, he probably wouldn't have hired you. I don't think anybody would, because the only consistent thing you've been in this company is a PR disaster. That's it. And that's all that I had to say about that. But Mo,
God
what I
damn.
just wanted to know what you made. I just wanted to know what you made of this whole situation.
First of all, that was the whole podcast right there. You can cut the mic right now, cut the show right now. That is the podcast because Jordan went the fuck off. Normally, I'm the one going off, y'all. I'm the one that needs all the bleeping
I
and
had to
stuff
get
like
that
that.
off, bro.
Yo, he's first of all, before he hit this button, he said he's gonna do this eloquently. I was not expecting all like the jabs and the Shakira line and shit. Bitch, he had I was trying my hardest to cover my mouth. I
I
wanted
was
to
ready,
fall off
bro.
this chair. Oh my god. Jordan's just went the fuck off and spat just now. Like, oh my god. Oh my god. I can't disagree with anything he said. He kind of stole the words out of my mouth. Like, I personally think that whatever altercation that Andrade and him got into, I hope he got his ass fucking beat because I don't think he got his ass whooped hard enough. To be honest, you would think he would have learned a
Facts.
lot considering wasn't he the first person to take sensitivity classes? In
Yeah.
response of him, and I know you said it was a tweet. It was not a tweet. He went on a podcast. I think it's called the whole damn show or the whole fucking show. That podcast. He said it verbally, and he said it while laughing. Like he definitely thought there was something funny about that comment he said with Sasha, and everyone excused it because he was young. He's young, you know. He'll learn. It was something that he said years ago or whatnot. You were the first person to take sensitivity classes. This whole precedent started because of you. And look at where we're at. Look where we're at right now. Okay. You got into it with Eddie, and everyone tried, not everyone, but some people, the minority, the people who like to kiss Sammy's ass, was over here trying to put it off on Eddie, saying, well, you know, Eddie's a veteran. He shouldn't be fighting with a younger boy or whatever. That, you know, he's just a kid. He's just a kid. And it's just like, all right, well, he just took sensitivity classes. So why is he uttering that on top of taking a jab at my boy Eddie's fucking anger management issues? And then, like you just said, it has it been like what 6 weeks? Maybe less than 6 weeks? I don't think so. I think it's been like 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks since All Out or whatnot. This motherfucker wants to come for Andrade of all people. Of all, who has had an issue with Andrade? Who in all his time of
Nobody.
him being a veteran? Like, you have to sit here
Nobody.
and like question. You have to question, like, at some point, like, all right, these people who are non-problematic, they're never in the blogs or the news for anything other than their wrestling and the work they put into the ring. That's all they're ever in. They're in the ring for. I mean, Eddie, yeah, he does have beef with people, as far as I know. But Andrade, like, you never hear him at all in the blogs for nothing outside the ring. That means that Sammy's going around provoking people, and he's causing like
Right.
a bad just energy and a bad rapport in the locker room. And I don't know what is it about him that Tony Khan likes so much that he wants to give him passes. Because to be perfectly honest, what?
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. I'm gonna say what I have to
Oh,
say after
oh,
you.
okay. I thought my mic was going out because I be going off, child. But like I don't know what it is about Sammy that's keeping him anchored because me personally, after that whole Sasha thing, I would have been cut him. I would have been cut him because I think if you did the math, he might have been, I don't know, 21 or 24 years old. Listen, like I think everyone by at least middle school or high school knows damn well what that word means, what it does. And I couldn't keep somebody around the locker room that has publicly said that and said it in a joking way, knowing that I have a whole division of women. Like that would make me feel
Right.
so uncomfortable working in the back, knowing that someone jokes around about the R word. What if I've been R worded before or sexually assaulted? Most women have been sexually assaulted. That does not make me feel comfortable that, let's just say hypothetically, I was being in the back of the locker room. God bless you, by the way.
Thank you.
If
Thank you.
I was in the locker room, let's just say that one of the other wrestlers took it upon themselves to do something to me, and Sammy probably might just cackle at it. If he was in he's one of my witnesses, he probably would just cackle at it and not do a damn thing. Like that would not make me feel comfortable having him around. So he would have been cut early because that put a stain on AEW immediately. So I don't know what it is about him
Mm-hmm.
because the only thing I could really say that is like good about Sammy is that he has put on some good matches. The only like memorable moments for me that
Yes.
came out of it was in the beginning with Darby Allin. He had like a white hot match and maybe like that spot
Mm-hmm.
that was viral early on the year with the RKO spot. That's about it. But you could cut him right now and the company would like be exactly the same. If anything, it would be better because the amount of time, TV time they're investing into making him into Conti a thing when no one gives a fuck. Like you're trying to be Edge and Lita so badly, like you're never gonna be them. You're never gonna be them. Okay, no one's ever gonna do it like Edge and Lita, bitch. No one's gonna do it like them. Let's get that out the way. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? He's not a likable person on the mic. He's not a likable person in real life. He comes off like a dick. He looks like a dick. He has a very punchable face. Like I think someone should have punched him harder so he could shut the fuck up already. Because he keeps running
Right.
his mouth. I don't know who blew his head up. I don't know who blew his head up. I don't. But I just think that he needs to be cut. Like he needs to be cut. This is like you just said, it's been like 3 strikes right about now. Like between the
Should be out.
Sasha thing being this has nothing to do with wrestling, but I mean it's embarrassing that you proposed to your girlfriend in the middle of the ring just to cheat on her with Tay Conti. Like then they're trying to like make light of a situation by putting them on screen for us to see. We don't want to see them. They have go away heat, not good heat, bros. Like get away, get off my television. Like give someone else this
Like
fucking
dip.
spot. And then you're over here starting it with freaking Eddie and freaking Andrade of all people. Like telling someone to go back to WWE, that's your best response, bro. Like,
Right.
why don't you just stop wrestling? Why don't you just stop wrestling? Because honestly,
Go
you're
and
not
tell.
memorable for your one
Keep
job.
going.
What? No, go ahead, go ahead.
I say
Because
keep going.
you've been white
Um,
hot the entire time.
telling somebody to go back to the company that hasn't had a physical backstage altercation and God knows when isn't exactly the biggest insult. So that's number one. Number two, this is something that I picked up on as you were talking about it. Sammy has incited things with Andrade and Eddie Kingston, both brown people who are
Ooh,
more over than Sammy.
ooh. I wonder why they're over.
Oh, let's talk about it. Because Eddie has had no titles. And I find this very, very interesting that this altercation happens after Chris Jericho goes on a podcast and says that Eddie Kingston is like Randy Orton in the sense that he doesn't know how good he is. Bro, your big homie is bigging up Eddie more than he's bigging up you. That's a tough look.
And Eddie
And I
didn't need
think
anyone to push him. He just came in just
and
being
Eddie didn't
Eddie.
need anyone to put right. But I think that is just interesting that the trend, because I've never heard him pick a fight with anybody on his level or anybody that was like I just haven't heard about Sammy picking an altercation with other people besides brown people who seem to be more popular than him. That's
Inferiority
that
complex.
sounds like jealousy.
Yeah.
Because you by all definition, Sammy, you're supposed to be the guy. You're supposed to be the world champion
You
by
were
now.
selected.
Right? You were three-time, two-time, three-time TNT champion. You came in the AAA cruiserweight champion. You were Jericho's understudy. Jim Ross kept calling you the next Eddie Guerrero. You were supposed to be the guy.
You got introduced as a Spanish
You were
god.
supposed right. You were Spanish God, right? You were supposed to be him. You were supposed to be Joel Embiid, him Hortons, all that. But you're not. And it was all these other people, whether it was Eddie Kingston coming in or Andrade coming in, and they have more popularity than you did. I just find that interesting. I listen. We could talk about this all day,
Oh,
but we're
again, this
gonna
could be the
move.
whole goddamn show right here.
This could be the whole show, but we got more important things to talk about. So, speaking of podcasts, on the latest episode of My Mom's Basement, the AEW president had a lot to say regarding Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho. First, he referred to Chris Jericho as a major locker room leader, and then he talked about how Jon Moxley is the front runner of being the MVP of All Elite Wrestling. So we kind of talked about these things on the show before, but I kind of wanted to know your take on what does this mean for the leverage of the Elite going into like essentially a contract year, and while they're both while pretty much like they're all kind of going under this indefinite suspension.
I just love this shift because these are the best two people. These are like the best two
Mm-hmm.
possible faces you that should honestly, if you think about it, they should have been in these positions to begin with. They should have probably, if you're gonna choose wrestlers to be, EVPs or where executive producers or whatnot, these were your best possible people to choose from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
Considering, like we said about Chris Jericho and other like podcasts is podcast is our podcast, duh. But just considering that Chris Jericho is such like a seasoned veteran, as I mentioned prior, that he just has experience like across all boards, all types of people, all types of situations, stuff like that. And while he is controversial for mainly political stuff, for the most part, he is like the perfect guy to be the face of your company. And he really
Right.
has been causing problems in relations to other people, um, or the way he just makes the company look. He really hasn't done anything bad. If anything, he's been uplifting people, and
Mm-hmm.
him and John Moxley have been excellent people to fall back on when things have been going left and right. Like anytime there's been a problem, there has to be like a last minute change. These have been like the guys that literally have been like their strongest soldiers through the weather.
Mhm.
So I love that and I love this shift and I'm happy that, like Tony Khan is selecting people who are more um mature and want to put the business and the whole everyone winning, not just themselves. They want to see the whole business like win, in these
Mhm.
seats because they deserve it. They really do, especially
They do.
after the circus that we witnessed a couple weeks ago. So good on them and good for Mox. And I just love this for Mox because just like I don't think people really saw how much potential this man had in WWE because the way he was booked to be like just like a lunatic and a joke or whatnot. He was basically like always tertiary to Roman and Seth Rollins. So I love the
Seth.
fact that ever since he's been here from day one, it's just been like just a rise, man. Just him in his career and the way that people look at him and respect him. Like I love this so much for Mox because he deserves it more than anyone. Like hasn't been causing no problems, been putting on good matches, committing to all his bookings, you know what I mean? Making everyone look good, like it's kind of weird, but it kind of feels like that altercation was meant to happen. That everything that happened during the media scrum was kind of just meant to happen because the company
Mhm.
could literally only go up from here with these type of faces. So I hope that, just kind of going back to the Sammy thing, if they get rid of him too, can you imagine how much further we could get if we have another person his place? You know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
like get rid of all the bad seeds already. And then start recognizing like the gems you have everywhere. And
Mm.
put those people on the pedestal. They deserve it. That's how I
Mhm.
feel. How about you?
Number one, I agree with you. Also, for starters, I just got to update that saying that AEW stars Julia Hart and Lee Johnson are getting married. So congrats to them. But now,
Oh,
moving on from
congrats.
that,
That's cute. Okay, go on.
I would say this is number one. This is great for John and Chris. I think that it's a very, very interesting thing that like everybody likes to complain about the ex WWE guys. But it seems like right now the WWE guys are kind of running the industry, if I'm not mistaken. Between WWE and AEW, WWE, Roman and Seth are kind of running things, and then John is essentially one of the faces of AEW. It's interesting that it's the Shield that's running the industry. I think
Yeah, I
that's
was
pretty
about to
cool.
say that.
But
The era of the
I,
shield.
it's the era of the Shield. This is what they were talking about. I think that to kind of go off of what you're saying, I really really love this for John Moxley because I think that ever since the Shield split, um, Dean Ambrose, John Moxley's kind of been seen as the third most important. I think it was like Roman and Seth, or then Seth and Roman, and then John. But I feel like this kind of era kind of puts John in a league of his own and shows that he's just as much of a leader and just as much of a credible talent as Seth and Roman. Even though he's doing it in another company and in another way, I think that it's showing how valuable he is as a talent and as a professional. And nobody's had anything bad to say about John. Like we get on like a Sammy and we get on other guys for allegations and stuff like that. But let's not forget that Mox had his own set of demons that he battled through and he conquered on his own and he came back better than ever. He could have been in a position where that habit could have affected other people in the company. It's easy to get into a backstage altercation when you're drunk.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
even when he was
But
at
he
his
never let
worst.
that leak into his work. And that
Mhm.
shows how much of a man he is. And I salute John for that. So I love the fact that he's being considered as an MVP for this company. I love the fact that Chris Jericho is being considered as a locker room leader. Not that anybody needed to know. He's the GOAT. Like he's one of the, in my opinion, he's one of the best wrestlers of all time. And he's been on every ship, either as it was ascending or as it was descending.
Yeah,
And I
AEW could
think
not
that
had like taken off without Chris Jericho. I don't care what
it
nobody
couldn't have.
says.
It couldn't. It couldn't have taken off without Chris Jericho. And I honestly believe that he's going to continue to be a valuable asset moving forward. However, I think that this was more. I don't want to say a dig on the elite, but I think that this is a very very telling thing about the elite because I feel like Tony Khan is essentially doing this for multiple reasons. One, to uplift the talent that he has, and to assign the company new faces. Number two, I think it's to tarnish the brand of the elite as far as Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. Reason being is because I believe number one, AEW is going into a contract year. They have an extension with Warner to the end of 2023. And I think that the Young Bucks like picked up like another year on their contract, so they haven't gotten an extension, which means that probably into 2023, early 2024, we're going to be hearing the Young Bucks as a name that's going to be a free agent, and they can very well go to WWE. I don't know about Kenny Omega's contract status, but they can very well go to WWE. And I think that this is a very, very intentional thing that Tony Khan is doing to kind of tarnish their name a little bit. Uh,
I ain't mad at it.
so that when they hit free agency, they don't get the bag that they were going to get in 2019, where they were either going to start their own wrestling company or go to WWE.
Good.
So I think that that's another thing as well. I think that uh I think that Tony is kind of in a crisis, not a crisis, but a crisis prevention mode, if you will, because like I said, Warner has a contract with AEW until the end of 2023, right? And so that means that I think that around the middle of 2023 or even the end of 2023, we're going to hear about a contract extension. And what Tony Khan does now is going to directly affect how much money they get going forward. Like, mind you, they got a contract extension like 6 to 9 months after they started on TNT. So Warner was very, very big on AEW. But when you see guys face allegations, when you hear backstage reports, those things can get in the way of potentially getting more money. And I think that Tony Khan is just like, you know what, we're going to do a 180 and we're going to give these guys the ball because it's a contract year. And, when it's time to get more money, you put the ball in the hands of your best players. And I think that when it comes to AEW, their best players are Chris Jericho and John Moxley. What were you going to say?
No, I was just thinking about it. Like, he was like in the beginning, Tony Khan, he was just signing everybody left and right. I don't think he ever took stuff like this into consideration. So to see
Mm,
it go so far as like the people that are supposed to be your pillars to your company or your executives doing what they're doing, you know what I mean? And stuff like this happening, like they're even willing to embarrass you. I think is gonna make him like a little more like I'm gonna say lenient, but I feel like it's gonna make him think a little bit longer and harder before he just signs just anybody. Like I feel like maybe background
hmm
checks or something might be a thing because I don't think this man could afford to have any more public embarrassments and these god awful PR stunts. So I feel like
Right.
they're definitely gonna do some digging before they just sign any people, like moving forward, which I think that's good. Like I love this new business mindset that Tony Khan has. Like again, I don't know who's straining him out, but I gotta give you a round of applause because this is great. I love the fact that it's not just like okay, you guys are just suspended. It's more so like no, like there's more to your punishment. Like because
Right.
y'all not about to play with me ever again after this, ever again. Because now
Ever.
these people took your job. These people, my strongest soldiers, the people I slept on, are taking your jobs, and you're not coming back to the same bag.
Right.
Like
At all. At
at
all.
all.
Y'all
Like, do you know how much I
y'all
gotta
about to
hurt their pride and ego? Like,
I know, yeah, for
does
sure. And
that's
and
the
these
crazy move. Go ahead.
these cats is about to be regulars on Dark. Like I said it before, I'm gonna keep saying it. They about to be the best tag team and the best trio on Dark and nothing more. But moving on. So with Crown Jewel on November 5th, we all know the main event. It's gonna be Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. And I think a good amount of us are excited about this match. However, one person who is not is Drew McIntyre. I believe it was in a podcast or an article where he said that he doesn't believe that Logan Paul should be getting a championship match. He says that he deserves a spot in WWE, but that he does not deserve a championship match. And I'm paraphrasing, so if I'm wrong, my bad. But I wanted to know, do you think that Drew is reacting, or does he have a right to feel the way that he does?
I see both sides of the situation. From Drew's side, I do see that he could be rightfully upset because um he has all the elements that it takes to be that guy, to be one of the greatest superstars of all time and to have a better
Hmm
legacy to him. And I feel like a lot of his moments are kind of forgettable, you know? And I can understand the
Mm,
frustration with how long he's been there and how hard he slaved, you know, between improving his physique, his look, you know, getting a type of character that really gravitates with the audience, you know, being a pretty loyal, committed worker when it calls for it.
mm-hmm.
I could see how frustrating it's, and also losing that match at a Clash at the Castle. I could understand
Yeah.
with all of that going on because he should have been champion of all people. To watch someone else who is being put in the seat simply because, well, you know, they're social media famous and we live in the day and age where, you know, like social media kind of it, it's involved. It's literally kind of meshed into everything. It's frustrating to
Right.
see someone who just got here in what it was like March or something like that, or he came around like WrestleMania time and watch them literally just, you know, not even climb to the top. There was no climbing. I mean, he just jetpacked his way all the way straight to the top, and he's getting put in a
Mm-hmm.
match with the face of the company. You know, is he going to win the match? Of course not. He's not going to win the match. But it's just like a lot of people don't even get to have their first title match in WWE, let alone the world title. You know what I mean? Not with just anyone, but again, a person who is the face of the company. This era's John Cena, basically. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that has to be frustrating. That has to like suck. So I get it, but then from a business standpoint, it's like, you know, you want to cash in on the money. Like everyone loved the match that happened at WrestleMania with Logan Paul. I was a big fan of it, even though I'm not a fan of the stuff he's done in the past. As a talent, he's solid. I actually want to see the match. I'm hyped for the match. But, you know,
Yeah.
I can't blame them for the business move because who else were you going to put in there that's going to be a draw? Who else in this situation is ready? The only other person that anyone would probably have cared to see is Cody, and that boy is out. You got to do what you
Right.
have to do, and you got to make your money. So I see both sides of it, you know.
Mm,
But it's kind of one of those things where Drew kind of has to get over it. Like it's kind of how this business works. Like you just weren't it.
mm, mm.
That's just how I feel. How about you?
I feel like Drew has a right to feel the way that he feels. Like if you look at Drew McIntyre's path from when he started in WWE to his departure, kind of the working his way through the indies, coming back to WWE, winning the NXT championship, moving up to the main roster, having finally that WrestleMania moment only for it to be indoors at the WWE Performance Center because of the pandemic, unfortunately. You know what I mean? And then going from now and then they go to the UK, and he, loses that championship match. I understand completely how he feels. And on top of that, you gotta understand that like Drew is, I don't want to say one of the boys in a derogatory way, but he's a pro wrestler. He's a pro wrestler's pro wrestler. And I think that when you are a pro wrestler, that sometimes you can see like the business aspect of everything. You can see why people do things the way they do, but you're very much going to look at things through the filter of, well, I worked hard for this and this is something that I wanted and this is something that I deserve and he does deserve. And I honestly think that he's going to win the WWE title again. I think that he's going to win it at the next Clash of the Castle. That's another discussion for another day. But
Ooh, I like
I
that.
personally just think that Drew is justified in feeling the way that he feels. However, in this case, there is no right or wrong because I feel like, once again, Logan Paul is a draw. When we talk about, like you kind of touched on it, and I think that it's very, very obvious in today's social media climate, pro wrestling, like the wrestlers say, like your ability to be the GOAT is about how much butts you put in seats. And I feel like the reason why people say that or pro wrestlers say that is because the ticket is one of the most monetizable things in pro wrestling. Who do people pay to see? And as business expands, now there's more monetization opportunities. So that has expanded into merch sales. That has expanded into social media as well, because social media is a monetizable platform. And when we're talking about monetizable platforms across the board, you have to consider Logan Paul a draw, and you have to consider pro wrestlers who are more popular on social media as draws because they are part of the reason why a company makes money. They are providing things that are monetizable and bringing in profit. And so Logan Paul's a draw. And once again, I understand what Drew's point of view is, but like he's gonna get his turn again. I know that I know that Drew's gonna get his turn again, but I just
Yeah.
think that you just kind of have to just see like Logan Paul's a draw. He's white hot right now, and you can't, when somebody's white hot, you have to build on the momentum. You can't just sit on it. Like,
Mm.
so they're building off of Logan's momentum, and I think that they're doing the right thing. But I also understand how Drew feels. I don't think there's any right or wrong in this situation.
Not at all. Not at
Go-
all.
Going from that though, uh, time to get extreme. Okay. So, Extreme Rules is going to be hosted in Philly this year, the home of Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW. For those of you who do not know, ECW is not just a promotion, but obviously one of the most revolutionary forces in the history of wrestling. They were a Philadelphia based promotion headed by the head of creative, Paul Heyman. But with 21 years removed from this extinction, and it's kind of crazy to think they've been, they folded as an independent organization 21 years ago. Who do you think is the most valuable talent that has been able to come out of ECW?
I'm so biased. When I think of ECW, if you think of people like RVD or whatnot, um, that's kind of hard for me. That's really hard.
Hmm.
Do you have one? I have to think on mine for a little bit.
I have a few because I feel like when we talk about, and I'll touch on this a little bit more. When we talk about ECW, for those of you who don't know, ECW has had a lot of talent go through its doors, from Dean Malenko to Eddie Guerrero to Rey Mysterio
Oh, it
to the
has.
Sandman,
I
Tommy
mean,
Dreamer, Rob Van Dam. But if we're talking about the most valuable talent that has ever come out of ECW, without a shadow of a doubt, it is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think that for those of you who don't know, Stone Cold was in WCW prior to his ECW run. He, was a part of a couple of tag teams. One, famously being with Brian Pillman. I think they were called the Hollywood Blondes. However, the Stone Cold gimmick and his mic skills and his character was very much rooted in the work that he did in ECW. Paul Heyman really just gave him a mic and said, "Yo, anything that you feel about Eric Bischoff," because Eric Bischoff fired him via phone. He said, "Anything you feel about Eric, just fire off on this program," and he did that. And a lot of the authenticity that we see in Stone Cold Steve Austin is based in his days in ECW. The ability for him to just kind of like cut loose and do his thing. And I think that when we look at the different talents that come out of that organization, I think that Stone Cold was honestly easily the biggest draw that ECW has ever had, that has ever come out of ECW, that has worked for another major wrestling promotion like a WWE. And there are so many different influential talents that have come out of there, but I just think that when it comes to the biggest and the most valuable, definitely Stone Cold.
I
Want to
can't argue
know
with that
your
one.
opinion?
No, I really
Can't
can't
argue.
argue with that one. I can't. I mean, there's a lot of great people. I mean, you had like RVD, you had like Taz, or you know, Punk obviously was in there too. I mean, before Punk soured himself. I mean, duh, he was
Mm.
fucking awesome over there. You had people, you had insane people there like New Jack and stuff like that. There's a lot. There was a lot. There was a lot. Was Mick Foley in ECW?
Foley wasn't
Yeah,
there. Foley was in
yeah,
ECW.
like you have a lot of legends in there, man. Just but if I did have to like give the crown to someone, I mean, yeah, like Stone Cold. I mean, he's only been there for a short amount of time, and look at his impact, man.
Mm.
Just one of the biggest fucking icons in the industry. So I can't even argue with that take you just gave.
Say less. Then we're moving on. Um, so if while we're on the topic of ECW, we really can't talk about the promotion without its leader, its fearless leader, the CEO, the founder, the head of creative, Paul Heyman. And WWE announced earlier this year that they will be hosting WrestleMania, I believe 39, in Philadelphia. As that season rolls around, do you think that Paul Heyman should be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame when WrestleMania heads to Philadelphia? And who should induct him?
First of all, duh. Like, what? Like, Paul is like so important and valuable and precious. Like, if you did not induct him, like wrestling fans would riot. We love
Right.
Paul. We adore Paul. Everything he does with his timing in the ring or with a mic in his hand, or when the mic is not even in his hand. I love this man's facial expressions. He tells a story with his face
Right.
just alone. This man is amazing. He's brilliant. He's been responsible for so many like creative ideas and pushing so many talents, especially when Vince probably didn't believe in them. I mean, he's the whole reason why I care about Brock all over again because Brock kind of became stale to me. At least I didn't appreciate him too much as a kid. But like him being attached to freaking um Brock Lesnar and literally like elevating his career to just a whole different level and making him feel like this monster. And what he did for Roman, because I didn't care for Roman. Like I did not care for Roman. It's not that Roman couldn't talk. It's just that he just needed someone to just kind of, you know, give him that little bit of credibility that we're looking for because he had everything else that a wrestler needed. And Paul just with the way he articulates his thoughts, his body language, his facial expression, the way he was um praising Roman like he was a god, and just like the whole side bitch angle he had between Brock and
Brock and Roman.
that like he's just iconic. He knows how to make someone look like $1 million without even trying. Like he is
Mm.
an oh god, he's just I could talk about Paul all day. He's just I love him. He's great. Um but yeah, I just feel like when people think of Paul, I feel like they want to tie it easily to Brock, in my personal opinion. Could you put someone like
Mm.
Vince McMahon to induct him, I guess? But I feel like Brock just because like he was there for such a big portion of his career. Like he was kind
Mm-hmm.
of a whole reason why his career was like revitalized. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone would have taken Brock seriously because he had all the elements there. He just wasn't a very good talker, especially with him having this high pitched voice and his very intimidating look and body and height and size. Like what
Mm-hmm.
he did for Brock is just like insane. So I think that it would be heartwarming for me as a fan to watch Brock just because like he kind of made his career like I it's kind of hard seeing those two apart from each other sometimes. That's just me.
I,
No one's gonna agree with
I
my
feel that for
take
sure.
because it's easy, but what do you think, Jordan?
I think number one, the answer is absolutely yes. He should be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Paul Heyman is probably one of the only people in wrestling that has multiple Hall of Fame careers in one big career. We can take what he did in ECW alone, that's Hall of Fame worthy. We can take his first run with Brock, that's Hall of Fame worthy. We can take his work of head of creative of SmackDown, that's Hall of Fame worthy. Because the reason why we cared about Eddie Guerrero, you know, I don't want to say his name, but I'm going to say it. Chris Benoit, Edge, Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, is because of Paul Heyman's creative efforts. Him creating the SmackDown 6 elevated SmackDown to be the number one show in WWE when it wasn't supposed to be. And it also elevated the careers of 6 Hall of Fame caliber talents. I'm saying Hall of Fame caliber because Chris Benoit is not going to WWE, and rightfully so. WWE Hall of Fame, and rightfully so.
I believe in Chris
Um,
Benoit.
huh?
I said I believe in Chris Benoit. I mean, I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I mean, I like Chris
Yeah,
Benoit. But go on.
but yeah, as a talent, yes. Person,
Yeah, I
but
get it. I get it.
um, but from there, then we could talk about Brock coming back. We can talk about his run with CM Punk was legendary.
Oh
His
yeah.
run as Punk's manager was legendary. Um, and to be completely honest, part of the reason why Roman Reigns was brought into the WWE, the Shield was supposedly a brainchild of CM Punk and Paul Heyman, or at least that was kind of the way that it was kind of presented. It was like his faction because they debuted around the time that Punk and Ryback were feuding. And yeah, so there's that. So you can take his run with Punk, his run with Brock, his run with Roman, his run as like a backstage creative, his run with ECWs. That's like 5 Hall of Fame careers in one. And the fact that he's still going is phenomenal, is incredible. And I just think that he should definitely 100% be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame because he has had a Hall of Fame worthy career And on top of that, I feel like the person that should induct him, who I'm gonna go with a different answer.
Okay.
The Dudleys. I think the Dudley boys should induct Paul Heyman.
Hmm.
Reason being was because Paul Heyman, I feel like one of Paul Heyman's crowning achievements was the creating of ECW. I believe that the best tag team that came from that was the Dudley Boys. And the Dudley Boys ended up being one of the most decorated tag teams of all time. They won the ECW tag titles, WWE tag titles, WCW titles, TNA tag titles, IWGP tag titles. They are arguably one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And they're also very, very articulate and knowledgeable about the business. And I feel like we don't know where Brock stands with WWE right now. And I think that Roman would be another great choice to induct Paul. But if I think about Paul Heyman, there's just something about that ECW family that he built that's just very, very distinct to everything else that he did. And I think that the Dudleys should induct him. That's just my personal opinion.
That would be so heartwarming, actually. I would like that. That's
Yeah.
not a bad answer
I think
either.
that would be mad. I think that would be mad cute.
Hmm.
But moving on, because it's time for our Extreme Rules predictions. So there are 6 matches, and I have to add, one of the things that have been a staggering improvement from Vince McMahon's creative run is that the limited matches in pay-per-views, great, makes everything feel important, makes everything stand out. And in this particular Extreme Rules event, there's a stipulation to every match. To every match, there's some form of extreme stipulation, and also the rumored return of one Bray Wyatt. I think that this card is perfect for this because it doesn't, you know, there aren't any US championship or IC championship matches, no heavyweight title fights. So I feel like a Bray Wyatt return would contrast and complement this perfectly. But lo and behold, we're going to get started on this with the first match that has been advertised. Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship in an Extreme Rules match. Who do you have?
I feel like while they've been trying to establish Liv and they've been doing a good job with establishing her, I feel like they really want to somehow get Shayna involved. Don't know why. I feel like they're trying
Mm,
to push over to that dream match that everyone's been wanting between Shayna and Ronda. So I feel like Shayna may help Ronda to win, or maybe there might be an interference considering she still hates Liv's guts, and Ronda kind of
mm,
has been on unhinged, like she literally has been like, kind of going a little bit psycho considering that she lost her belt and like that's all she cares about at the moment. So I
mm.
do feel like I'm going to see an interference, and I do feel like um Ronda's definitely going to win. And I also feel like it's been long enough that Liv had the belt. I'm a little bit bored of her at the moment, so that's just me. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that Ronda is going to win the belt. I believe that the victory in all of this is Liv Morgan being built up to be a solid, versatile character in the sense that you can take Liv seriously, more seriously now. I feel like, previously she was just seen as this happy-go-lucky women's wrestler, and I love Liv. I love Liv's presentation. I love her work. Um, but I feel like that's the victory in all this for Liv is the fact that she's, Hunter proved that she can take it there. You know what I'm saying? And to me, I think that that's the victory in all this because I feel like now, even if she loses the belt, now we could find a way to put her back into that championship feud or possibly teaming up with somebody else and going after the tag titles or whatever may have you. I do believe that there is going to be a Shayna interference because I believe that starting now, we're going to get a build up to Shayna versus Ronda. I think that Shayna is going to come alongside Ronda as the enforcer and then Shayna's gonna turn on Ronda, and then we're gonna get a Shayna Ronda at WrestleMania for the SmackDown Women's title, where I believe that Shayna is gonna win because I believe that Shayna is criminally or was criminally underutilized under Vince. So
Mhm.
that's my take. I think that Shayna is going to win. I mean not Shayna. Ronda is gonna win that
Shannon
title.
should win at some point.
Shayna should win. Shayna
Yeah.
should be the champ right now, but that's another discussion for another day. So, next match, we have Matt Riddle versus Seth freaking Rollins in a fight pit match with Daniel Cormier as the special guest referee. Who do you got?
I think Matt Riddle got this one because I mean we had the heel one last time, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it made the fans feel a little bit of sympathy for Matt. But I feel like considering the setting that's going on, it'd be a little disrespectful if he lost again, considering he's the professional fighter over here. So
Right,
I feel like this feud's gonna close off with a
right.
babyface victory to put this whole
Mm.
storyline to an end. Even though I wouldn't complain if I saw Matt Riddle lose again. I love Seth Rollins. He's been doing great in this role. How about you?
I I actually think the opposite. I think that Seth freaking Rollins is going to win. I believe that Daniel Cormier is going to help Seth Rollins win. I believe reason being is because for those of you who don't know, the fight pit, the first match in the fight pit was Timothy Thatcher versus Matt Riddle in NXT. And so I think Matt Riddle won there, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but Daniel Cormier is a known Seth Rollins fan. Um, Reports have been kind of coming out saying that it was actually Daniel Cormier, uh, Seth Rollins, who actually reached out to Daniel to participate in this. And Daniel has also been very much interested in a WWE run. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see Daniel Cormier help Seth get the victory, as well as kind of be an enforcer or a manager alongside Seth. I think that would be a good little fit for him and a good little segue into a WWE run, possibly. Also, something else to consider is that Seth Rollins the following night has a match with Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. I believe what's going to happen is that Seth is going to win this match against Riddle. Seth is going to go on, win the U.S. title, and then Matt is going to challenge Seth for the U.S. title and then win it off of him. That's just my honest prediction, but I do think that Seth is going to win. Now,
You
going
kind of cut
from that,
out on my end hearing the Bobby part. You said something about Bobby,
oh,
and then I just blurred
oh
out
yeah,
again for a
Seth
whole
Seth
second.
is facing Bobby the next night in Brooklyn for the U.S.
Okay,
title.
okay, all right.
So I think that Seth is going to win, use that momentum to win the U.S. title off of Bobby, and then from there, Matt is going to challenge Seth again for the U.S. title, and then Matt's going
Ooh,
to win again.
that's actually a more club. That sounds more triple A esque. But
Yeah, that's a very Hunter thing to do, I think, in my opinion.
sometimes my brain is
But
like programmed to think the way like how Vince would book this, because he's very A, B, and C, whereas
right,
like Hunter always has like a bunch of branches
a story.
going off,
Yeah,
it's just to get to the end. So when you break it down that way, I'm like, yeah, it actually makes not just more sense, just for a better story, and it still
right.
makes both parties look really good and still adds on to Steph's character. So I actually really like that take. But moving on.
So moving on, Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Cross in a strap match. Who do you got?
They could have went with a better name than a strap match. Well, let me stop. I honestly feel like they're building Karrion Cross up. I don't believe that in this point in time, Drew is supposed to be utilized for anything of importance. Not to say that Drew is not important. He's very important. He's very valuable. It just, in my head, I already made my mind up after he lost that title at Clash of the Castle that if he didn't win shit then, right now, probably for the remainder of 2022, it's just not for you, bro. They're
Right.
trying very hard to make Karrion Cross look very good. They're still building him up. They're trying to make him as likable or interesting to the audience, and I feel like he needs this win if you want to keep
Mm-hmm.
establishing him. It's been a very slow burn of a build, and if he lost, it would do no favors to him. So I feel like he just
Mm-hmm.
has to go over for this particular match. I feel like it's probably not going to be like a clean win. Since Scarlett is there, I'm assuming she better, if she gonna do a fireball again, child, she need to get it together, right? She she gonna do
That's
that.
a fact.
She gonna do it again to help him cheat and win. She better, come correct this time. I
Ace
mean,
that. Yeah.
but shout out to her though for the way she saved it, because that's kind of like a veteran move to know, like, all right, I sabotaged it, so let me go with a low blow. And then for Drew,
Right.
instead of just selling it, even though he knows that that was nowhere near him, it didn't make any sense for him to just take it, So good on them, by the way. Love that. But I think that Karrion Cross has to go over.
I agree with you there. I think Karrion Cross is going to go over. They're building Karrion. I feel like losing will help build Drew's character, and for some reason, I kind of feel like a Drew McIntyre heel turn is on the way, just because of
Ooh,
how everything has been shaping up for him story wise.
with a gimmick
I
change or no?
also I don't think we're gonna get a gimmick change.
Oh.
I think he's gonna lose the sword and just kind of go back to who he was when he was with Dolph
Hmm.
as the Scottish psychopath. I think that we're gonna see that return, just him being a sadistic guy. I feel like this match is going to be the perfect way to reintroduce Bray Wyatt. I feel like you could easily segue into like Drew is about to win and then lights go out, come back on, and then it's just Bray in the middle of the ring or something like that. All in all, I just feel like this will be a perfect platform for Bray Wyatt and a perfect event for Bray Wyatt to return. I think that he will. I think that the QR codes have been kind of leading up to this. We've been seeing like the little Easter eggs that they've been putting in the Extreme Rules graphics and stuff like that. So I think we're going to see Bray Wyatt come back during this little match. Now, moving on, we got Bianca Belair versus Bayley for the Raw Women's Championship in a
Wait,
ladder match. Keep going.
would Bray align with Karrion Cross? No, you
He
don't
would
want
be
to.
on his
Okay,
own.
we're not going that route.
I don't want Bray to be in line with anybody. I feel like Bray should have his own faction, and I feel like the moment that Bray stands next to Karrion, it kind of makes Karrion like the sidekick or the enforcer to Bray. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like
Okay, that makes
Cross is
sense.
very
Yeah,
much a Karrion is a very like a primary character. Like he's a world heavyweight title contender. I feel like if you put him next to Bray, Bray's gonna be the guy that goes after the world title
that's
and not
true.
Karrion.
That's true. I guess especially after the way his sidekick took over the show last time, maybe Triple H probably wouldn't go with that route. But all right, yeah,
Right.
moving on.
Moving on, we got Bianca Belair versus Bayley for the Raw Women's Championship in a ladder match. Who do you think is going to come out on top for this one?
Sorry for my phone going off in the background.
You're good.
Yeah, God, because I like them both. I love them both. Um, I think. Well, I heard rumors. First of all, I heard rumors about how they're trying to book Charlotte and Bianca, and then have this thing where, since Bianca has beaten now Sasha, Becky, Bailey, or whatnot. Did I say that wrong? Yeah, Bianca has defeated three out of the four horsewomen. That they're going to lead this into her handling it with Charlotte, and then
Mm-hmm.
having to beat all four of them. So part of me wants to say Bianca for that reason, but then the Bailey stan in me wants her to win the Raw Women's Championship, just because now you kind of have like the Undisputed Era like thing going on, but it's kind of
Vibes,
too
yeah.
soon.
Everybody got for gold.
Yeah, but then Undisputed Era had to like work really hard to get there. Like that took forever. That was a
Right.
journey that the fans like yearned to like see. So what if, Dakota and Io Sky held on to it, and we we watched Bailey chase for that just so we could see that happen eventually. 'Cause I feel like if you give it to us now, it it'll be fun for a moment, but they're still kind of still like establishing themselves. So I don't think
Right.
Bailey really needs it. I mean, what I'm
Mm.
always happy to see Bailey with gold, but I think it will help elevate Bianca because wasn't Bailey our first Grand Slam champion The second
Yep.
she took the I forgot which TLC it was, but she got I think the SmackDown. No, no, it was the Money in the Bank. Forgot what it was. It was a match. All right, as soon as she got that briefcase or she got that belt, she was automatically the Grand Slam
And she
champion.
cashed in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she cashed in. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
Money in the
Yeah.
Bank match. Yeah, yeah. So it was both in one night. Maybe that's why my brain's fogged. But yeah,
Yeah.
like, do you know how big that is for Bianca to beat a Grand Slam champion in a ladder match? The match that literally like made Bailey. I'm not saying that Bailey wasn't that girl because she already was that girl, but she kind of went through like a low period in her career where her being that first Grand Slam champion really established her. Like
Right.
really, really established her all over again. Especially with her being a babyface. So I think that Bianca's actually going over. As much as, I want to see Bailey in this instance, I feel like Bianca is so we could segue eventually into Charlotte coming back and then her beating
Mm.
Charlotte. What do you think?
I agree with you that Bianca's gonna win, but I have a very, very interesting theory.
I hate these
Bray
damn
Wyatt
fucking
won't be
theories,
the
y'all.
only return. Bray Wyatt won't be the only return.
Yeah.
Sasha and Naomi are coming back. Hear me out. Hear me out. How did Raw end with the Bailey and Bianca confrontation? It ended with Io and Kai injuring Asuka and Alexa backstage. So they're taken out. Asuka's out, Alexa's out. That means, and it's a no and the ladder matches are no disqualification, no countouts. Bailey made it clear that she was gonna have her girls by her during the match. So if Asuka's out and Alexa's out,
I know where this is going.
who do you think Bianca's gonna call on to even the odds? Can't be Asuka and
Holy
Alexa, they're both
Trinity.
injured. So I think that we're going to get Naomi and Sasha at Extreme Rules. And that's going to throw people off more than um the Bray Wyatt return. And then from there we have Damage Control and we have the Holy Trinity, and that's going to build up to Survivor Series War Games.
Again,
And both of
using
them could
Triple
just
H's
add
brain.
on
I
another
need them to be
person.
researched. I need them in a lab.
So I think that Bianca's going to go over, but I think we're going to see the return of Sasha Banks and Naomi
That would
during this
make the
match.
whole arena shake and all the Holy Trinity stands just like, oh my, I'm excited.
Right.
It hasn't even happened. I don't even know if it's going to happen, but I'm so excited. Oh my God.
I think, and
Like,
I think that that's the reason. I think that that's the reason why we don't see any Intercontinental, United States, or tag team title matches during this card,
yeah.
because I feel like you want certain moments to stand out,
Mhm.
and if you have a banger match or banger main event matches, it's going to diffuse some of those moments. So in order for those moments to kind of permeate and resonate and marinate, it was smart for them to have the women's titles on the line, and possibly leave space for those moments. Because if Bray Wyatt comes back and Sasha and Naomi come back, those are going to be the moments of the night by default.
That's a fact. And last
By default.
pay-per-view, he let them shine anyway, so it's not like you could really be mad or upset that like everyone was
Right.
talking about Gunther. Everyone was talking about Gunther by then of Clash of
Mm-hmm.
the Castles. So honestly, I'm not even mad that they're not on the card. And like honestly, as a fan that has attended WWE shows and I watch the shows, it's exhausting to sit there through like 8 to 12 freaking matches. Like that's just not normal.
Mm-hmm.
That's not normal. And then including like the not the pay-per-view, the pre-show or whatnot. Like this is such
Mm-hmm.
a much better format. Like I don't feel exhausted by the end of it. I don't feel overwhelmed because sometimes you do feel overwhelmed and it gets to a point where like the crowd is silent and you have to feel sorry for the main eventers. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
they're supposed to be your last thought on the show and absolutely nothing they're doing is getting a single reaction. This is perfect.
Right.
It's perfect pacing for the crowd. Everyone gets to, have that high and low and relax and get excited again. I think it's perfect and it's perfect for the return. So I hope all that happens that you mentioned because like this already looks like a stat card, but it's definitely going to be like a memorable show. It probably is going to blow Grand Slam out the water if you consider Grand Slam to be a pay per view. I do, but
I do.
yeah, it's definitely going to blow both pay-per-views out the water that they recently had in AEW. So, I mean, while Tony Khan's doing a great job, gotta step your game up, bro, because Hunter,
Cause Hunter's on you.
yep,
Hunter is on you, bro.
yep, foot is
Hunter's
on
on
his
you, brother.
neck.
On his neck, bro. And and I just thought about this. There's a possibility that a women's title match can open the show and end the show. You can have Liv and Ronda to start it off. You can have Bianca and Bayley to close it out. I think that would be a great little thing to do.
Yeah,
But moving on to Finn Balor versus Mo's ex-husband Edge
we're going
in an
through it,
I
yo.
Quit match. Who do you have? Who do you got?
I'm gonna go with Finn. I have to go with Finn with
Mm-hmm.
this one.
Wow.
Not because we're going through a divorce or whatever, but it's just the fact that you're watching the storylines progress, and it's starting to feel like Edge is not really the main character. I feel like if he did beat Judgment Day, then you're not really establishing Judgment Day anymore, and we're trying to make that
Mm-hmm.
like the faction of the future. Like that's clearly what
Yeah.
Triple H wants to do with them. I think we said before how Bria reminds they're like a faction that it's kind of similar to, not really, but it some people in there reminded Jordan of DX or whatnot. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if you have all these important people in this faction and you want to continue to establish this faction and not make it seem like it's only like on life support because of Edge, well, you gotta have them beat the leader and then end it once for all, you know? So just between that and the fact that he's like no longer like really dealing with the Mysterios, that's taken on a life of its own, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's the perfect time to, you know, get rid not really get rid of Edge, but let him just attach himself to a different feud. Maybe like
Mm-hmm.
not involved in a faction because we already checked off that here. We already checked off factions and the tag team matches, the mixed tag team matches, going for the world title. Think it's about time he goes mid card. I don't think anyone could complain with
Mm-hmm.
that. Let him go with the mid cards.
Right.
Let him toss it up with. Actually, I don't know who I want to toss it up with because my dream match was AJ Styles and he got that already. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people he could toss it up with. He doesn't really have to win a belt, but I would like to see him win the mid card belt, at least one belt before he
Mm-hmm.
leaves. I don't think anyone could complain because if you let like a part time, even if he's not really part time, veteran come back and they win the world title, everyone's always crying, saying, "Oh, well, that could have went to somebody." But if he
Right.
comes back and he wins the mid card title, because he's heavily known, right? He's heavily known for that mid card title. Okay, like him with the IC title, what, bro? Like I'm just saying, he would have came back and he was going for the mid card title. Well, all you're doing is just elevating that particular division. Even though Hunter has been doing a phenomenal
Right.
job already, it'd be super dope to
Absolutely.
just see him just be interjected into that tier and help work with those talents, elevate those talents, maybe bring out some character or some banger matches with them. If he wants to hold the title, he could hold it for a little bit. If he wants to go
Mm-hmm.
out holding the title and then retiring it or dropping it down to someone the way Becky just gave the title to Asuka, I wouldn't be mad at that
Right.
either. I feel like that's actually a beautiful fairy tale ending, because before
Agreed.
he retired, he had to just give away the world heavyweight title, and that broke my heart. So it'd be kind of nice
Mm-hmm.
to see him go out with the title
Yeah.
months down from now and then hand it down to whoever he thinks should take the torch. I think that'd be beautiful. What about you?
I agree with you on that. I'm as far as the winner of the match,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be Finn because they want to solidify Judgment Day as the faction of tomorrow. I think we're gonna see an AJ Styles heel turn in this match. It's been teased.
It's been a
I
while.
think that the pairing of Finn and AJ under a banner that's not Bullet Club esque is very intriguing. Um,
Mm.
and I think that this is the perfect match to do it. I think that this could lead to another AJ and Edge match. Um, Somewhere down the line, just because I think that when Edge and AJ went at it the first time, they were both faces, and that's boring. So I feel like this could lead to AJ and Edge, as AJ is a heel, Edge is a face. It could also possibly lead to AJ versus Finn, with AJ as a heel and Finn is a face, or Finn is a face and AJ is a heel because one turned on the other. So we'll see about that, but I definitely think that Finn is going to win this match. I think that Judgment Day needs to be further established, and I think that after this match, they all need to go for gold. I think that Rhea needs to be the women's champion, needs to go for the women's title because that never got resolved. She was injured and then like just kind of faded into oblivion and just came back as Dom's favorite woman. And then
I
but
love
so I
this
think
feud though.
Rhea should come back. Rhea should definitely get back in the title hunt. I could see Dominic and Damian go for the tag titles, and I could see Finn going for the Universal title. But I think that Finn is definitely going to win. It's also been reported that Hunter wants to push Finn. No surprise there. And I think that if you want to push Finn, I think that he needs to win this match. So that's with that. And then
I think Rhea
on
would
to the
honestly. I'm sorry to cut you off.
What'd
It's
you say?
just that I think it'd be.
You good? You good?
I just thought about how. No, I just thought how cool it would just be if she helped Dom. Even though I'm not like that much of a fan of him. I mean, he's slowly growing on to me because this pairing is just intriguing. It's actually funny to me.
Yeah, it is.
Um, I think it'd be kind of cool if they made them the power couple of this era. Because what if she helps Dom get to a title and later on down the line she chases for gold and they both hold it? Because to be
Mm.
honest, they're naturally likable. Like they didn't have to force it
Yeah,
down
they
our
are.
throats. It's kind of just like little implied things, unlike with Sammy and Tay, where they're shoving down our throats. Say, hey, these two smash. Look at this ghetto picture of
Right.
them laying up in the bed with each other at a hotel with the belts. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Here, it's like it's very sexually intense, but it's implied. Like it's very tasteful.
Implied.
It's just like, oh, what are you doing with this one? Like, oh, okay, like
Right.
these two are little freaks. Okay, it's just like
Right.
it's really intriguing, like because it's something so subtle but like so powerful to like add layers onto their character. So I think that
Mhm.
that'd be really cool if um yeah, they could still have Judgment Day. I'm perfectly fine with that, but I think it'd be really cool if they made them the future power couple because it's been a minute since we actually had like a for real power couple
Power
in
couple.
WWE. Yeah, and it'd be different. Like it's totally different. Like my last power couple in my head is still Edge and Lita. Like that to me, like no one's
Mhm.
touching them. But this would be super cool because it's something that's kind of birthed from Edge starting something, and it's like a
Mhm.
completely different look and feel with these two, where you have this really strong, dominant woman and a semi-submissive man, but like she helps him get to the gold. Like kind of like how with Lita, she could hold her own. Like she's ready to fight for her man and do whatever it takes for her man to get the gold or whatnot. But it's kind of interesting because Rhea kind of dictated this whole thing. It's kind of, I
Right.
think that'd be super cool if they did that down the line. But that's just me. What do you think?
I, I I agree with you on that. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I think that Edge and Lita are the best like power couple, and to see, and I don't think that we've had like another kind of like dominant power couple since, and Dominic and Rhea definitely had that potential. So, but
Mm-hmm.
to move on to the last match, the Brawling Brutes versus Imperium in a 6-man tag team, good old fashioned Donnybrook match. Now, I personally don't know what a Donnybrook match is, but must I say, I love this rebranding and representation of the Brawling Brutes. They feel a lot more down to earth and human than they did when they were under Vince's creative reign, and they feel like fighters. They were just on NXT going for the tag team titles over there, and so I love what they're doing with them. But I wanted to know, who do you have, Imperium or the Brawling Brutes?
I am biased. So I'm always going to choose Imperium. I'm obsessed with Imperium. Like I want them to win every single match I ever seen them in.
Right.
They're just standouts to me. I love their look. I love their feel. I love how serious they are. They're so old school to me with just their
Yeah.
presentation, the way they wrestle. Um just when they stand in the ring in silence with their arms behind their back. I just love the visual of them, man. Like they're just I want so much for them. I want them to be the faction of the future. Okay, so
Mm,
while I'm happy what's happening with the Brawling Brutes, to me it's a little too late for me to start caring.
mm,
Just because I mean I still have a bad taste in my mouth. I'm more
mm,
interested in seeing what they do individually, but I'm not mad at it because we do need more factions to work with WWE. Um,
mm-hmm.
all these tag team divisions. So I don't mind it. I think it's gonna be a great match nonetheless, but I'm gonna have to give it to Imperium because I'm biased and I love them. Go on.
I I align with you in the sense of I love Imperium. Um, they're just dominant. They're dominant pro wrestlers, and they give that and they ooze that. And I will always love, like, I love their characters as individuals and as a group. I love their dynamic. But to be honest, I love this feud. And I think the only way that it can continue is if the Brawling Brutes beat Imperium. So I'm going to go for the Brawling Brutes on this one because they've been losing a lot. Like they lost the NXT tag team titles to Pretty Deadly, or they lost the match. They didn't lose the titles, so they didn't win the titles. They lost the match. And then they've overall, like, Sheamus hasn't beaten Gunter. The Brutes were going against the Usos a couple weeks ago for the WWE tag team titles. They lost that. So I think that in order for them to kind of balance this feud out, I think that they need to win, and I think that they will win. I also think that this is perfect going into Survivor Series War Games because there's so many factions. There's so many factions to choose from. Because I gave my dream scenario, whatever. That's one thing. But you have Imperium, you have the Brawling Brutes, you have the Bloodline. Reports just came out this morning that Legado del Fantasma is being called up to SmackDown.
I'm sorry.
So that's
I love
so that's so that's another faction. So, like, now we have this huge plethora of factions to choose from
him.
for War Games, and the possibilities are endless. And so I think that but going back to the original statement, I think that the Brawling Brutes are going to win, and we're going to get some reiteration of this match down the line, hopefully at Survivor Series in some form of compelling match. So that wraps up our Extreme Rules predictions. We want to know what you guys feel. Two things before we end the show. Like I said in that little segment, Legado del Fantasma is being called up to SmackDown, or at least there are reports of that. And off the top of your head, who do you think should be the first match? Top of your head right now.
Why do you gotta do this to me? Did he fight Ricochet yet? Has he
Well,
fought?
this is a faction. So,
Oh,
like,
faction?
who should this faction face?
Oh, again, I don't have an answer right now. Go. You
I
could
do.
go. Go ahead.
LDF
I know
versus
you
Hit
do.
Row. Hit Row. I want to see
Oh,
LDF
fine. Yeah,
versus Hit Row.
actually, that'd be smart because I don't like what they've been doing with Hit Row. Like, I like Hit Row themselves, but I don't think they've been putting anything serious with the whole Max and Models thing. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. I refuse to get it. I think that'd be really cool to set them up with someone that just came from NXT or whatever, and to give them like an actual serious like feud like that. That'd be
Right.
fire. I like that a lot. And I want to see
I
BFAB argue with Elektra. That'd be awesome.
That's
So
a
go ahead.
fact. And,
Mm-hmm.
and they will pick up from where they left off in NXT. But
Yeah.
in addition to that, it's also been rumored that Wade Barrett, I'm reading off my phone, that Wade Barrett has been called up to SmackDown. That he's going to be on the season premiere of SmackDown come Friday. I don't know if he's going to be an announcer or what may have you, but I am very, very intrigued about this. So we'll see what happens. But that concludes our show for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Culture 316. Once again, like, comment, subscribe, do all of the things so that you can keep being tuned in and tapped into us. Mo didn't know I was going to do this, but Mo is going to be filling in at ATW Podcast for the month.
Oh,
So
plug.
be sure to tune into that as well. All right, our friends over at ATW. So once again, tap in, tune into Culture 316 next week, and we look forward to seeing you guys there. Goodbye.